Welcome one, welcome all to the Snail Trail 4x4 podcast. If you like going off-roading in Toyotas, wrenching on Toyotas, camping in Toyotas, and maybe even poking a little bit of fun at Toyotas, and of course, hearing about how great the Rubicon is in Toyotas, then this is the podcast for you. That's right, ladies and germs. My name is Toyota Tyler, and joining me here in the studio yet again, he still hasn't left or quit, and I haven't fired him. Although I think he would have to fire me. I think that's how it's set up. Welcome, Mr. Jimmy Jett. How are you, bud?
I'm good. Thanks for asking. Yeah, do I?
You don't pay me, so I'm not. You can't fire me anyways.
Like, do I technically own this? I don't know. I mean, it has my YouTube name in it.
Yeah. It's one of those things. I'm just picturing you making a TikTok video or something saying, "Not my zoo, not my monkeys," or "Not my monkeys, not my problem." I
don't know.
Oh, my monkey's my problem.
We'll cross that road when none of us decides to leave.
There we go. Yeah. Or somebody decides to sue us. I totally don't work here for it.
Right? Yeah. Nope. It's all his. He talks more.
Oh man. How's life?
Busy, but good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm excited to hear about the Rubicon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about that. It was fantastic. I had a great trip. I didn't break anything and nobody else broke anything. So
yeah. How long did it take you to get to the springs?
It took us, what was that? 6 to 4:30. So 10 and a half hours, I'm guessing, right around there.
Sounds like an awesome trip.
It wasn't bad.
We'll get more into that on Thursday.
It didn't suck. We'll put it that way.
Never really does. That's for sure.
No.
So, today's Monday.
It is.
And it's Tool month.
It is.
Yeah.
Tool month is fun.
So, we've got a new giveaway going on for this week. Mm-hmm. What is it? This
week is, Monday. So we are giving away the magnetic T hex keys. The magnetic hex keys and then the T-handled hex keys.
Yes.
I know when we talked and we had Gear Wrench Corey here in the studio and we talked with him about kind of some of the new product and stuff we were giving away this month. We talked about the ratcheting handle hex keys.
Yes, we did.
Apparently those were launched about a year ago. And nobody has any inventory on them still.
Yeah.
So
we really wanted to give those away to somebody. And we asked for them and he ordered them and they are nowhere to be seen or heard from.
It's kind of like Morphlite compressors.
Kind of. Yeah. So we did have to pull an audible here, and as much as we wanted the ratcheting T-handle, we're going to settle for just a set of T-handled hex keys, which are still great. They're really nice to have. I have a set, another brand, and I'm going to hopefully exchange those out for the Gear Wrench ones here soon. But it's just more comfortable in your hand. You get more leverage because they're usually a little bit bigger and longer. And so you can, crank down on the short side or use that long side to stick it in somewhere where it shouldn't really go. So it's
my
great.
Problem.
Yeah.
That's one of my life issues.
I'm hoping that they're magnetic also.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah. I'm not sure if they are. And I did say, I think on our podcast with Corey, that I need to go check if my hex keys are the magnetic ones that have the ball on the end or not. And I haven't checked actually. So, okay. But it's sounding, after talking to Corey, it sounds like that all of them have that ball on the end just because it's longer lasting and a lot easier to use.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Nice. But that's what we're giving away. So how can somebody, or who's winning and how do they win?
I'm winning.
Yes.
And I'm winning because I said so.
Cool.
So the next giveaway will be next week. Stay tuned for that one.
You just want those hex keys.
I do. I don't have a good set of hex keys.
No?
No, I don't. I definitely don't have any T-handled hex keys. And I would love to have a set of T-handles.
Yes.
So they're extremely
if I
useful.
Get them, I will hand you down my non-branded kind.
Yeah. Okay. I pretty much just have a hex keys on like 3/8 drives. and I
Yes.
use them with my socket ratchets all the
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah,
I don't
me
really
too.
have a good hex key set. So
Okay.
So yeah, what do we got to do to win these? We need to, if you guys noticed, there is a kind of a digitally done thumbnail for today's episode rather than kind of like a picture, a photo that we normally do from our shenanigans. And so what you got to do is you got to find a way to take the thumbnail on this episode and post it on Instagram under your personal accounts as a photo post.
Right.
And then all you got to do is tag Gear Wrench Tools, tag Snail Trail 4x4, and use a hashtag.
And what is that hashtag, Tyler?
It is hashtag, also known as a pound for all you non-millennials, you Gen Xers out there.
Is that what the currency is in England?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly what it is. Same thing.
Yeah.
And it's a GW hex keys, all one word, plural.
Plural.
Yep.
GW hex, HEXKEYS, hex keys.
That's it. So
Not Allen. That's what we should have made it. We should have made it
Not
hashtag
Allen?
not Allen wrenches.
that'd be fun. So yeah, you got to tag Snail Trail 4x4, tag Gear Wrench Tools, and use the hashtag GW hex keys. Yeah, you should be able to, from your podcasting app, take this show's thumbnail and long press on your phone and save the image.
Right.
So,
Or I will post it on my Snail Trail 4x4 Instagram page, and you can somehow screenshot that or crop it or cut it or save it from there. It'll also be available there for you guys to grab.
yep. You can also grab it from the website under
True.
this show. Might be an easy way too. Just go through a web browser and you can definitely save the image that way. Lots of different ways to take that, and we'll post it up on 4x4 Toyota Tyler's Instagram account as well as the Snail Trail 4x4 Instagram account, and then have it as the show's thumbnail as well. So there'll be a few different places that you can grab that picture and post it on your Instagram account with the tags and the hashtag.
Perfect.
I like it.
And then you, how many are we giving away?
We just have one set each for one person.
One set for, so a
So-
set of Allen, magnetic Allens, and those are, I think, they're a standard, metric, and Torx.
I believe so, yeah.
And then a set of the T-handles, and I'm not quite sure what we're getting with that because we had to do this audible.
Yeah.
Not sure what's available for us to grab. But
Gear Wrench Corey still doesn't know that that's what we decided on. So
yeah, we should maybe let them know.
Surprise.
So we're you might get all three also, or maybe just standard, maybe just metric. I'm not sure how it's going to lay out. So
Cool. I like it. That's the contest for this week. And since we are time traveling as podcasting does, we do not have the winner from last week yet as of recording.
yes, we will announce that winner on Thursday.
Correct. Yep.
Like we do with all of our other wieners.
You announce your wieners on Thursday?
Always.
Okay.
Ballparks. Hebrew Nationals.
I don't even know any of the brands of those.
Tutti Fruttis. I don't know.
Is it Tutti Frutti wiener?
I don't know. Maybe.
All right. Got it. So yeah, good stuff from Tool Month. Keep in mind the big giveaway for this month is the tool chests. So the 26-inch 5-drawer tool chest and the topper for it, which is another, I think, 5 or 7 drawers, something like that, with an opening top. We have those, as well as the 5 EVA foam tray kits that we talked about 2 Mondays ago.
Yep.
Whatever it was.
304.
304, episode 304 with Gear Wrench Corey.
Let's see, what are they? So there was the sockets and ratchets kit. There was the extensions kit. There was the bolt biter kits. And then there was the ratcheting wrenches standard and metric.
And both the standard and metric also has the stubbies.
No, they don't.
Okay.
There's slots for you to acquire your own stubbies.
Oh, that's funny. So, we got Tool Month this month going on. Really cool time. Gear Wrench Tools doing some really neat stuff for all the listeners. Definitely go check out Gear Wrench Tools. They have pretty much everything. Just go check out gearwrenchtools.com. and peruse their catalog. I like to go on every once in a while and just check out the new stuff.
Yes.
Because there's a button you can press that says new product.
Right at the top.
Go through. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely.
Yeah.
And soon we'll be able to have a direct-to-customer service set up there with them. So that'll be really, really nice.
That's going to be super rad for everybody. So, if you guys have any questions about Tool Month, get in contact with us and we'll do our best to answer them. If you have questions about any of the Gear Wrench tool product lineups, get in touch with Gear Wrench Corey, GW_Corey on Instagram. He's got all the good tidbits there. So, let's see. What else do we got for housekeeping?
Not a whole lot, I don't think. Excited for next month's giveaway, but there's so much going on with Tool Month this month that we can't even focus on that yet. I say we jump right in.
Cool. Let's jump. I think I got a text about episode 320.
Really? Already?
So I have a question for you, James.
I've got an answer.
If I want to come from out of state, out of California, and go run the Rubicon as my first time ever coming in to run the Rubicon.
Yeah.
Maybe my second time, maybe even the third time, because there's a lot to do on that trail.
There are, definitely.
How do I go about preparing for a trip to the Rubicon if you're coming in from out of state?
Yeah, that's a phenomenal question. I think that there's a lot of factors that you have to take into account.
Yes, there is.
And I can't speak for a lot of other states, but the Rubicon is a decently long trail.
I agree. It's all of 9 miles, which doesn't sound like a lot at all, but there's so much packed into that 9 miles. And if you consider like a lot of trails in other states that are a quarter of a mile.
Yeah, thinking of you, Arizona.
Arizona, we're pointing at you. Well, although in Arizona, they can only have short trails because they can only run for like half an hour at a time before their engines overheat.
Right.
So they have to
122 today.
Yeah. So, I always grew up with longer trails, right? Because I'm used to the high Sierras that we have here, and our trails are longer, or at least they take a long time to get through.
Right. And it's not like Moab where you kind of have a central location that you can stay at, and then every day you run, a different trail kind of scenario. This one is, if you get 4 miles down this trail in a day, you're doing pretty good. Right. I think the whole length of the trail is roughly 20 miles from pavement to pavement.
Yeah.
So, but the hard stretch is really about 9 miles. So, I don't know. I think this is going to be a great topic. This is going to be a good thing to talk about. I think both of us are on many off-road forums and groups, and this question gets asked a lot.
A lot.
And I do think that if you're coming from another state, I would say that it's probably most likely that you're driving to Tahoe.
I think that's fair.
So I think that's
a good question. Like, I think that your probability of ending up in Tahoe first is very high, but like at the same time, I think when most people think of running the trail, I don't want to say everybody, most people, I think about running it from Loon Lake to Tahoe.
Sure.
And so I know, because just in the Rubicon Trail group page on Facebook, right, there's a lot of people that are saying, I'm coming in out of state. I'm going to start and go Loon to Tahoe, Loon to Cadillac. Yeah.
And I think let's make this question a little bit more complicated.
Yeah.
With I'm towing.
Yeah.
I'm not driving my 4x4 rig to the trailhead and going to wheel the trail. I'm going to tow my vehicle.
You don't want to drive from Virginia to California and then run the Rubicon in that car and then drive back?
Home. I don't. But if somebody wants to drive me from Virginia too, I'll be more than happy to cruise along. I'm not paying for that gas. But and so I think I want to throw tow rigs into this question because I do think that's an interesting sidebar because that is a concern for people. I've now drove my truck, trailer, and off-road rig there. How do I deal with this? And especially if your off-road rig is not California legal to drive on the road.
Uh-huh.
Now what do you do?
Yep.
So, yeah, I think, well, the first things first, if you're coming to California, I mean, and you're coming to run the trail, you really do need to prepare yourself. I think that there's a lot going into thinking about how you want to drive this trail. And there's a few different variations of how to get through the trail, whether you want to, and durations of how you want to get through the trail as well. Right. I think, and let's just count camping at one end or the other as like day one. Okay.
Travel, get there. Camp is day one.
That's we're just going to count that as day one. I don't know how many days it takes you to get there.
Yeah.
So if you want, I mean, it's very doable to make the Rubicon a one night trip.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
But it's not very comfortable.
Yeah. I mean, not for your first trip. If you're just doing the trail in 2 days, one night, I'm sorry. Are you talking about the one night being the camping at?
No, yeah. I'm saying night 2 of whatever this is. You'd be on the trail. Night 3, you would be off the trail.
Gotcha.
In somewhere else.
Yeah. I think it can be done. I think it's plenty comfortable. I just think you miss out on a lot that the trail has to offer.
I 100% agree. Yeah.
That's the big thing for me.
If you're coming from out of state and it's your first time wheeling the Rubicon, I would at minimum do a 2-night stay on the trail.
I would agree to that 100%.
Right. So however long it takes you to get there, camp the day before, 2 nights on the trail, and then however long it takes you to get home. So now I'll throw this back at you. If you're going to stay 2 nights, how would you break that up?
Oh man. Me personally, I would probably wheel in. It depends. Am I trailering?
Yes, we said you were trailering.
If I'm trailering, I would break it up by wheeling in from Loon Lake or Tahoma or Tahoe, either side, and going to the new RTF property.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And then the first night, second night overall, first night on the trail. I'd go to the RTF property, and then from there, go run the other half of the trail and back to the RTF property. And then your third day is go back out to your trailer. That's how I personally would do it. I know that people essentially did that with Buck Island before, but in my opinion, Buck Island is more than the halfway point.
Okay.
And but
it's not really that much farther than the RTF property. Or closer. Well, depending on which way you go.
Yeah, I guess. It just depends on, I don't know.
And there's not really any water down at the RTF property.
That is true. I'm assuming
Buck
you're
Island Lake.
Yeah.
There is water there.
Yeah, I'm assuming you're going to be wheeling the whole time though. Like you want to go see the whole trail.
Sure, but I think that at some point you're going to get to camp, and man, it's really nice to jump in the lake at the end of a day.
There is some truth there. Yep.
There is a river or creek on the way down to the RTF property.
Yeah, you can kind of lay and roll in it real quick.
Yeah, but it's not anything. I would stop at Buck. I think day one, I would do it one of 2 ways. If you want to wheel, I would drive to Buck from Tahoma. I would drive to Buck, stay at Buck, Buck Island Lake. Next day, wheel out through Gatekeeper. Maybe go up to Loon Lake, see it. Get a photo at the famous mural.
The sign.
Go drive all the way to back to Buck.
Okay.
And that's a long day. Right? And then the next day you wheel out.
Back to Tahoma.
Or if you're going from Loon, I would try to wheel the first day to Buck, the second day to Rubicon Springs, third day out. Yeah,
there's some of that. So I'm not a big fan of the stretch of trail between Buck and Rubicon Springs.
Why? What are you not a fan of?
It just seems to be all very covered in. You're not getting as much of the sights and views.
Okay.
All the views, in my opinion, are from on top of Cadillac and then between Buck Island and Loon. That's where all of the beauty of it all.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think the trail gets more difficult from
totally.
Buck Island Lake to the Rubicon Springs.
Totally. Yeah.
So there's a level of increased level of off-roading that happens going from Buck to the Rubicon Springs.
Yeah. I totally 100% agree with that. The trail is quite a bit harder, in my opinion, from Buck Island beyond. But that's not why I go on the Rubicon. I'm not going there for the difficulty, because I mean, granted, I can get through from Buck Island to the Springs in 45 minutes. Like, I'm not
right. But I think people there is a level of difficulty that people do go to the Rubicon for, right? It is, I think that's one of the things that's on that bucket list. Yeah. Like I don't like, people go there because it's picturesque. It's a beautiful spot, and it's a tough wheeling trail.
I can see that. I know that. So thinking back, I've only been running the Rubicon now for 6 years, 5 years, 6 years, something like that.
Okay.
And my first trip on the Rubicon, I was like, this is going to be great. I'm so excited for the difficulty. And like, that's what I was really looking forward to, was the difficulty of the trail. After I got through it, I was like, I'm not impressed by the difficulty.
Yeah, it's not that difficult.
Holy shit, the scenery was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the time out here was beautiful and gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe that's maybe something we should also talk about is, I mean, what would you say, and we've said this before, but not here, obviously, what would you classify your minimum level requirements for a vehicle for on the Rubicon?
In my opinion, 33s, one locker, front or rear, I don't think it matters. And then a recovery points, front and rear.
Okay. That's your minimum level?
That would be my minimum level, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mine's higher. For me, I would, if I want to go wheeling with somebody and I don't want to struggle and make, like, if you're going to wheel from Loon Lake to Rubicon Springs with that requirement.
Oh, that's going to be a hell of a day.
That's going to take you 12 hours.
Yeah, totally.
So
you didn't put a time period on it. You just said what's the minimum available.
Yeah. And if I'm heading out with somebody and I'm going to wheel from Loon Lake to Rubicon Springs, I would say that my minimum level that I would expect somebody to be would be 35s, locked front and rear, and full armor, bumpers and rock sliders, skid plates, all that.
Okay. So I led a trip that was going from Loon to the Springs.
Yes.
And that's pretty much what I required everybody to have.
Right.
Was 35s front and rear.
Yeah.
Lockers
except for driver front.
Yeah.
That one can be different.
Yeah. Lockers front and rear, and then rated recovery points front and rear. And then just assuming, I know that we have a lot of the members in the club have winches, so I didn't put that requirement on it because I know everybody already pretty much has one. But like, if I don't know who you are, I want to make sure you have a winch. Because on 35s on a 2-door vehicle, you're going to be fine. You're not going to really get hung up on anything. But 35s on Bobcat, 127-inch wheelbase, you're probably going to get hung up on a couple places.
Or a 4-door JK.
JKs have low chassis.
They're very low chassis.
They're very low chassis.
They have a very low belly height.
I've seen lots of JKs on 35s get through the Rubicon, no problem, but they do get hung up on stuff.
Yeah, or they're on 40s.
Or they're on 40s and they just go bleep. So, I guess minimum requirements, you can do the trail on 33s in one locker. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it because I don't think you're going to enjoy the trail. You're just going to spend the time.
Well, the difficult level is going to be way up there.
It is, yes.
You're going to be moving rocks, stacking rocks, and winching or getting pulled off things all day long.
Or you might back up on a rock and pull your drain plug out of your axle.
Right.
So,
carry a spill kit.
Yeah. I think that the trail is not super difficult, but at the same time, like, in my opinion, if you're trying to go there for your first trip to make the trail difficult, like, you're missing out on the point of the trail, in my opinion. Like, if you want to go do a difficult trail on your first trip, go to Fordyce.
Sure. But I'm saying that it's one and the same. They're going there because it's a very picturesque place. It's talked about all the time, and it's a difficult trail. Like,
Yeah.
That's the whole cake and ice cream and everything, and the party and the fiesta and the piñata and all. I mean, it's the cream of the crop. It's the place everybody wants to go because it's difficult and it's picturesque.
Okay, I can agree to that.
I think difficult has something to do with it. I'm not saying they're going there strictly because it's difficult.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
It's both.
Okay.
It's, yeah. And so, I don't know. I think, so if I'm towing from Wisconsin, Kansas, wherever.
No, Arkansas.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, I think I would make sure my vehicle is street legal. Mm-hmm. And I would drive to Tahoe area.
Okay.
I would drive to the Tahoma staging area.
Okay.
And camp there that night.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of,
around the staging area,
get ready and plan and organize your rig, unload the tow rig and set it all up and get ready to go wheeling the next day bright and early. Mm-hmm. And I would wake up bright and early that next day, 6 in the morning or something. Mm-hmm. And I would drive down Highway 50 to Fish Camp and fill up and gas.
Where's Fresh Pond?
Fresh Pond. That's what I meant. Thank you. Fresh Pond where there's a fish camp.
Yes.
No, Fresh Pond. Drive down to Fresh Pond, fill up with gas, maybe grab some breakfast, drive up Ice House Road to Loon Lake and start wheeling in with the goal of getting to Buck Island Lake.
Okay. And then, so you're driving your vehicle, you're not trailering? That would be your preference?
You're
trailering to Tahoma.
To Tahoma.
Gotcha.
Driving the rig.
Okay.
Down to Loon Lake.
Yep.
And then wheeling up the trail to Tahoma, back up to
Interesting.
Tahoma.
I like that idea because I like where you're heading with it. I know where you're going to end with it.
Okay.
But what I would do, I would bring the rig down 50 to Fresh Pond the day before. I wouldn't camp at the staging area in Tahoma.
Okay.
I would come down up into 50 and I would camp at the North Shore Campground on Loon Lake.
Okay.
That's the new PG&E campground up there.
Yeah.
Gorgeous campground. They did a really good job with it. You're right on the lake. And so you're a half a mile from the spillway and the trailhead. So all you got to do is get up in the morning. You got a really nice campsite. Get up in the morning. You got this great view of this beautiful lake, High Sierra Lake right there. And head on down to the spillway and get on the trail and go.
Which is like a quarter mile from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I just think that, so you would leave the tow rig and trailer where?
In Tahoma. I don't know, man. I would either do Tahoma or Ice House Resort. Ice House Resort has a really nice parking area, camping area. They've got a restaurant for food. You can get gas there, albeit it is super expensive to get gas there.
And that is another good alternative to instead. So driving from Arkansas to drive all the way, go to Fresh Pond, gas everything up, drive to Ice House Resort and stay there.
Maybe
that's another good alternative.
That's another good one, yeah.
Right, because there's like a small little market there. There is a restaurant there. There is gas there, like you said, but it is expensive. And you're half an hour from the trailhead.
Yeah, right around there,
somewhere, just down the road on Ice House Road, before it turns into Wentworth Springs. So that is another very good alternative. So anyway, so you would prefer to park in Tahoma. Leave your tow rig in Tahoma, drive around, camp at the bottom. I'm assuming.
I think that's the way. If I was trailering, and this is hard for me because I hate trailers and trailer logistics. So I'm like,
but if you're coming from somebody somewhere so far, you are trailing.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. I would probably, if I was coming in with a trailer and I knew I wanted to do the whole trail, I would park the trailer at the staging area in Tahoma. And then drive the rig down and camp at the North Shore Campground or Ice House Resort.
Yeah.
One of those two.
I think that's a really good idea if you have the time.
Yep.
My guess is you're showing up in Tahoma at 9:00 at night.
Yeah.
And then to drive another hour and a half to get to North Shore?
It's more than that. I mean, it
Think it's
takes
2 hours?
It takes an hour and a half just to drive up that road, up Ice House Road to Loon.
Oh, geez. 3
Yeah.
hours?
So yeah, my guess is you're looking at 3 hours to go from Tahoma staging, 3.5 maybe, to get back to Loon Lake. And if you're stopping for gas along that way too, 4 hours. We've got Brian Murphy pulling up Google Maps. We need our drum roll. Drum roll.
Well, right now it says there's a 5-minute accident by Echo Lake,
Okay.
but it says 2 hours and 19 minutes
That's it?
from Tahoma, not the staging area.
Not the staging
So
area, but
a little bit longer.
yeah.
And that's Tulun Lake, which is out by pretty much, it looks like it's out by the campgrounds.
Okay.
That's where the pins dropped.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 2 to 2.5 hours.
Okay.
2.5 hours more or less to get around. So if you're showing up late at night,
Yeah.
dropping your truck and trailer at the staging area in Tahoma, and then you got to choose to drive another 2.5 hours to get down to the bottom.
Uh-huh.
I think that's do it in the morning, do it at night, one way or another, depending on where you're. The thing is that if you're going to camp at the North, what is it called? The
North Shore.
North Shore Campground. I'm pretty sure that one costs, and it's first come, first serve, right?
It is. Yep.
So depending on when you're going, and actually, and that's maybe another thing we should talk about, I would highly suggest throwing in some weekdays into your trip.
Yeah.
One way or another. If it's the
Yeah.
beginning of the week, end of the week, head out on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday trip, or a Thursday, Friday, Saturday trip, something like that. It's just there's vastly less people on the trail. You get more time to cruise. The trip's a little easier. There's not as much traffic jams, and you can enjoy the scenery and the trail a lot more. So okay. Well, so from day one, if you left from the North Shore campgrounds, how far would you try to go?
From North Shore campgrounds, day one, I would probably get to, man, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Day one, and this, I don't know, it depends. Are you, this is your first time on the trail. You're not with anybody who knows the trail.
I would guess that most people that it's their first time on the trail, but they're also probably going with somebody that has been on the trail before.
Okay. So you have sort of a makeshift guide.
Yes.
To get through the trail.
I would assume that the vast amount of people that are hitting the trail for the first time aren't doing it alone and are not doing it with a group of people that have also never done it before.
Okay.
I'm guessing there's one person in that group that has done it
before. Okay. In that case, then I think you'd be able to go to Buck Island no problem without having be too stressed out on time at all. Buck Island or the RTF property. One of those two. God, I really like the idea of jumping in the lake at the end of the day.
Yes, I do too.
Yeah.
And if you're going in the summer, it gets warm up in the mountains.
Yeah, it does.
And I mean, warm is in the 90s.
Yeah.
But it is nice at the end of a wheeling day, sitting in your seat, sweating, dust everywhere.
Not me.
Yes, you have AC and windows. But for, us open top people or whatever, or no doors, or people that like to actually have their windows open and talk to people.
You peasant people.
Yeah. It's nice to jump into a lake and clean off.
It is very nice to
and
jump
cool
in the
down.
lake, cool down, clean off. Getting to Buck Island it's a really neat destination that I have issues with as well, because Buck Island is the party scene.
It is.
When I go out and enjoy the Rubicon Trail, I don't want to have to deal with the party scene of the Rubicon Trail.
And I would, if you're organizing your trip, I would say if you're going to try and do Buck Island Lake, that's one of the ones I would say try to hit that spot on a weeknight.
Yes, I agree.
So that would be your Friday night or your Thursday night camp spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Or your Monday night camp spot, however you want to lay it, depending on which way you're going or how you're laying it out. Because it is a party spot. Now, there are campgrounds all over that lake. And you could possibly, when you start driving in, when you come from Loon Lake and you're coming down the Indian Trail, and you pass the RTF property and you pass the spot where
the V-notch crack thing.
Yeah, the V-notch crack thing. Campgrounds start.
Yep.
And you're a little far away from the lake, but it's an easy drive to the lake from there.
It is.
And if there's nobody else camped around you, that might be a good spot. Plus, there's a toilet right in that area.
Yep.
One of the porta potties that are put up. Then as you continue to drive closer to the lake, there's more campgrounds. There's probably more people going to be there, and there's also more toilets. But then when you go drive over the dam and up one or two of the ledges, there's also more campgrounds further past. And I believe there's another toilet out there too.
There's another toilet out there, and then there's another set of campgrounds further beyond that as well, that are down near the lake that has a toilet as well.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of opportunities for camping out there. And so maybe there's a lot of people down by the lake, but there might not be a lot of people early, and there might not be a lot of people a little ways after. Later. So you could look and see how it would work out for you. But if you're going to hit Buck Island Lake on a weekend night, expect it to be busy, expect it to be a party scene, and expect to have music playing into the wee hours of the night.
Yep. Music, lights, V8 engines all night long.
Yes.
So yeah.
If you don't want that, do you think they could make it to Rubicon Springs in a day?
Depends how geared your rig is. So like going all the way to Rubicon Springs in a day, it's very doable. The better geared your rig is. So I don't know. And in my opinion, the Rubicon Trail is less about how geared your rig is. Like once you're on 35s and lockers front and rear, I think you can run the trail at about the same pace as most people. It just comes down to how much experience you have on the trail. You know where the rocks are, you know where the lines are that are good for your vehicle. And so like right now I could probably make it to the springs in 4.5, 5 hours.
Okay.
In one day, in one go. But like the first time I was on the trail, and I'm equipped relatively the same as the first time I was on the trail. It took us, 12 to 13 hours to get to the springs. And so it really just comes down to knowing the trail, knowing the lines and where all the rocks are, in my opinion.
Yeah. Or how experienced of a wheeler you are, right? Even if you don't know the rocks and you don't know the lines, if you're an experienced wheeler, you can kind of pick those out fairly easily. Yeah. Right. So if you have a vast amount of experience in rock crawling, you might be able to do things a little faster. To some extent, though, I don't like the idea of blasting all the way to the springs because you miss out. You miss out on a lot of things. The trail. And to some extent, you have a destination and sort of a time limit, and you don't get to sit around and sort of choose. Like you might not choose to do Soup Bowl because you need to continue on down the trail,
or you might not choose to stop at Soup Bowl and go look at the big ass trench right there.
Or you might choose to do the bypass around Little Sluice because there's a few rigs in it and it'll slow you down. So in a way, I think that moving 2 days on the trail, as much as it sucks to make camp, pack up camp, and move to make camp again, I feel like there's a benefit to it because you're able to go at a little slower pace.
Yeah, I would agree to that. I think the biggest factor in running the trail the first time is time and adapting to your trip. If you guys are making good pace, then yeah, continue going. But if you're not making good pace, you need to be able to adapt and know where those locations are that you can camp at.
Sure.
So like maybe instead of saying, hey, our goal being goal oriented and saying, hey, we need to get to Buck Island today. Maybe instead of doing that, you say, okay, we know that we can camp at, out on the slabs at the top of the bowl. We can camp at Walker Hill in a couple different places. We can camp at Soup Bowl if we want in that area. We can camp at Winter Camp. We can camp at Buck Island. We can camp at this place. There's certain places along the trail that you can stop and camp at. So maybe you just kind of judge your pace for the day and camp wherever you're closest to at that point in time, whenever your time limit does hit. It's almost like snow wheeling, right?
Yeah, kind of.
So you just kind of go for the day until you hit your time limit, and then you're like, okay, time to turn around and head home.
And also you can, it's like if it took you 3 hours to get to Buck, then you're doing pretty good, 3 or even maybe 4 hours to get to Buck.
That's still pretty good pace.
That's pretty good pace.
Yeah.
And I would guess or assume if it took you that long to get to Buck, it's probably going to take you pretty much that same amount of time to get to Rubicon Springs.
You think so? Interesting.
You think it's longer? Or
I think it's shorter.
You think it's shorter?
Yeah.
Okay. So if it takes you 4 hours to get to Buck, it'll take you 3 hours to get to Rubicon
I think
Springs.
2 to 3 is a safe bet if it's taking you 4 hours to get to Buck. Yeah.
Yeah. I was, just being safe,
Yeah.
I guess. But I do think, would you say Buck is about halfway
I think so. It's
from Loon?
that's difficult for me because Buck is, the whole section of trail at Buck Island, like when you first come on, as you're coming from Loon to Tahoma, you hit the first section of Buck Island and then the trail goes on for a mile and a half as it gets around the lake. Like,
Where do you consider Buck?
yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
How about the bridge? When you drive onto the bridge?
At Rubicon Springs?
No, at Buck, or the dam, the levee.
At the dam?
At Buck. Let's consider that Buck.
That point right there.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't consider it halfway.
Half of the trail to the top of Cadillac.
Yeah.
You would consider it a third?
I'd consider it 2/3.
2/3?
Yeah.
Time-wise or distance?
Yeah, time-wise and distance.
So you think if it took you 4 hours to get to Buck, it would take you 2 hours to get to Cadillac?
That would be my guess, yeah.
Oh, I don't think so.
Really?
I bet it's right. My guess is it's right around. So if it takes you 4 hours to get to Buck, then it would take you 2 hours to get to Rubicon Springs. No, it'd take you 1 hour to get to Rubicon Springs. 1 hour to get to the top of Cadillac, roughly.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's more like around half.
Okay.
If it takes you 4 hours to get to Buck, I'm guessing it'll take you 4 hours-ish to get to Cadillac.
Interesting, because when I go out and run the trail, not on like the day when I'm going to be doing it I did it last weekend.
Yeah.
It takes me roughly about 5 to 6 hours to get to Buck Island from Loon.
Okay.
And then I get from Buck Island to the Springs in about an hour. And then it takes me 45 minutes to get up Cadillac.
I guess I haven't paid too much attention to the timeline then.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it takes longer than, I think it would take me longer than an hour.
Okay. Interesting. We'll have to go go
map it time wise.
Yeah.
This is how long it takes me to get from the bottom of the Granite Bowl to Ellis Creek.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if somebody's drawn that map up.
It's a good question. Timeline. I'm sure there's people that are like, I know how long it takes me to get through, but
can't you look on your Gaia?
I don't know if I recorded that map or if I downloaded it from somebody.
Can you find timeline though on it? Time stamps?
Should be. All right, so we took a quick break there. Hope you guys enjoyed the elevator music. I pulled up Gaia real quick, right? And thinking that we can see the timestamps of the GPX tracks. Apparently not. Somebody drew this GPX track. It says total time traveled was 0. So I started putting in the waypoints to figure out the mileage for it all.
All right.
From Loon Lake staging and down in the spillway to the start of Buck Island, pretty much where the dam is, I guess, so a little bit beyond the start of Buck Island.
Where the creek crossing is?
Where the creek crossing is, yeah.
Okay.
10.6 miles.
Wow. Okay.
More than I thought it was.
A lot more than I thought it was.
I thought it was only like 6 or 7 miles.
Okay.
So 10.6 miles. And then...
Okay, go on.
From there to the caretaker's cabin at the Rubicon Springs, 2 miles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right, so
I knew it was less, but I thought that's a bigger difference than I thought.
Yeah, that is way different. I thought it was okay. Let's break that down for a second. So, Loon Lake to Buck Island Lake, 10.6. Easier sections of trail, flatter sections of trail. Probably can do average 2 to 3 miles an hour.
I have no idea what the average would be. Okay,
so that would be 5 hours.
Okay,
roughly 5 to 6 hours.
Yeah.
I would say then from Buck Island Lake to Rubicon Springs, harder section of trail, maybe 1 mile an hour.
If you're lucky, yeah.
So 2 miles, 2 hours.
2 hours? Yeah. I think average to get from Buck Island to the Springs, I think average 2 to 4 hours is fair. I think if you're on 35s locked front and rear, and with somebody who's been on the trail before, I think 2 hours is more.
2 to 3 hours.
2 to 3 is the on the lower end of that side is where you should be.
Right.
But if you haven't been on the trail before, if you're under geared for that section of trail, that's a tough section of trail.
Yeah, it is a very tough section of trail with some hairpin turns.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for us long people,
a couple of really tight squeezes with some turns that are not good on long wheelbases.
Yes.
Wider vehicles. It's that section of trail is where, the old CJ5s shine.
Oh, absolutely.
On that section of trail. So,
even 7s probably.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think the original, when we started going down that bird walk there, it was, where do you camp the first night?
Yeah.
And I think the answer is, if you can do that first section in 5 hours, expect it to take pretty much 2 hours for to get to Rubicon Springs. So you're looking at 7 hours of driving. So really, if you're cruising along and you get to Buck Island Lake at a reasonable time,
it's like noon.
Yeah, if it's noon or whatever, even if it's 2, you can kind of, if you get there in a short amount of time and you feel like you can go on, then I suggest you to go on.
I would agree to that. If you feel like you're enjoying the trail and you don't feel like you're missing out on the views and the scenery and everything, then yeah, continue on. If you can get into the Springs by 4 p.m.
Yeah.
4, I think
5, 6.
4, 5, 6. I think 5 to 6 would be pushing it a little bit, in my opinion, for somebody first on the trail. However, if you can make it to the Springs as your first time on the trail and then go hang out at the Springs all day, your second day on the trail.
And so that's the thing. So day 2, you can go out wheeling. You can head back up to, Big Sluice. I always mix them up. If you could drive back out to Big Sluice, play on Big Sluice. There's fun trails between there and Big Sluice. You could head out to Cadillac and conquer Cadillac and come back. You can just relax at camp that next day, and go swim in the river, go play around, go hike. There's a few interesting areas to go hike to. You could actually hike to Rubicon Springs, which is a fun thing. It's soda water. It's naturally carbonated, which is a really interesting thing to go see. You can just hike around Rubicon Springs, the old caretaker house, and see where the hotel was, see where the natural footings are still at. There's a lot to do there.
I agree.
Now, just a blanket statement, you do have to pay at Rubicon Springs, and you do have to make reservations, I'm pretty sure.
You don't necessarily need to make reservations. They do have spots that are, I don't want to say first come, first serve, but it's very rare, unless there's a big event going on, it's very rare that they sell out of sites.
Okay.
So there is, if anything, you could always go camp in Dirty Dozen. Dirty Dozen is a massive camping area. It's just extremely dusty in Dirty Dozen.
Okay.
But you can, if you want to make sure that you have a good spot, get on the Rubicon Springs website, and they have a calendar there that you can get your reservations in on.
Right. So my thing was, if you think you're going to try to get there, it's really not that more expensive to buy 2 nights.
It's
cheap.
Yeah. It's $20 per rig per night.
Right.
So bring some cash with you.
Yeah. No credit cards down there.
Yeah. Nope.
And cash is just a good thing to have on the trail just in case.
Anyway. It is. Yeah. Cash and beer goes a long way on the trail.
Absolutely. Okay. So what about camping at the base of Little Sluice or at winter camp or near Spider?
I think those are all very good spots to camp at. I just wouldn't count on them to camp at.
Yeah. They're too early in the trip for me.
They're too early
if you're going to spend 3 nights on the trail.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. If you're going to spend 3 nights on the trail, the way I would break that up is drive to Buck Island Lake, spend a full day at Buck Island Lake, drive to the Rubicon Springs, spend the night, and then drive out.
Yeah.
That's how I would break it up.
I think that's a really good way of breaking it up. Buck Island is a great spot to be. You just need to, in my opinion, if you're going to stay the night at Buck Island, you need to make it on a weeknight.
Absolutely.
So plan on that. But yeah, I think, there's so many different ways to run this trail. If you run it that way, then you're missing out on the RTF property. You're missing out on the Wentworth Springs track.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, I mean, you're not really missing on anything there.
Well, I haven't personally wheeled the RTF property yet, so I'm looking forward to trying that. It is a new section of trail that's open, but it's like a lollipop, right? You drive down a trail, then you do this loop, and then you drive out the same trail, and you end up on the Rubicon Trail. In a way, it's like a new addition to the trail, and I think people coming out to drive the trail, like it's an option for them to do it, but I don't think it would be a necessity for them to do it.
Yeah. I can see
if you
that.
have multiple days and you have time, then yeah. I mean it's probably a 3-hour loop.
Yeah. 3-hour tour.
Yeah. So if if you have the time and you're going to break the trail up in multiple days, it would be fun to go and do. But I think it's one of those scenarios that it's going to be more of a local thing that go down there and go experience that, because for like you and I that have run the trail 25, 50 times in our life, it's like, yeah, we can drive to Buck Island, but I haven't gone down there yet.
Yeah.
Right. I want to go try it out.
Yeah.
So
I always drive by and I'm like, oh, look, there's the driveway. And let's get to the springs. Let's go to the Buck. Yeah.
So last day, whether you're at Rubicon Springs or Buck, drive out to possibly to your tow rig at Tahoma. And then I suggest you get a hotel.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you're getting off the trail, you're dusty, dirty. It'd be nice to sleep in a bed, nice to get some food in town. It'd just be good to relax.
Yeah, I would agree to that. I think that there's a lot of benefits, especially if you're coming in from out of state, to just get a hotel to relax at, enjoy Tahoe a little bit. Tahoe has a lot of other really neat things to do, some cool restaurants to go check out,
and
some good hotels,
see the lake,
and see the scenery. Exactly.
And if you're leaving Rubicon Springs, it's really not that long to get out.
It's not at all.
It's a matter of hours, if that.
Yeah.
And so you're if you left at 10 in the morning, you're probably at your truck easily by 2. And then from there into Tahoe, the city, South Lake Tahoe city limits is an hour, if
about
that.
An hour, yeah, maybe.
So, you're in town by 3. Plenty of time to walk around for the evening, check out the scenes, eat at a restaurant, stay at a hotel, clean yourself up, fix your rig if you need to.
Yeah.
But that's if you parked at Tahoma, because if you took your tow rig down all the way down to Loon Lake, now you got to drive that 2.5 hours to go get your tow rig again.
Yep. Yeah, which is a long, because you got to drive 2.5 hours to go get your tow rig, and then 2.5 hours back to Tahoma or Tahoe, because you're probably, if you're coming in from out of state, you're coming in across the Sierras. So you have another extra 5 to 6 hours added to your trip here. Yeah. Because your tow rig is back at Loon Lake.
And that's why I think if you're towing your crawler and you end at Tahoe on your trip to the Rubicon, I say you leave your rig there.
Yeah. In
Tahoe somewhere. If you're towing from like Arizona, I say you leave your rig at Loon Lake.
And Loon Lake, just come up like I-5 or 99 or something.
Yeah, because you're most likely going to be, you might need to do 395 down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it really depends on how do you get to the Rubicon. And if you're coming into Tahoe, I suggest leaving your tow rig at the staging area, or find somebody that will rent you some property to let you tow or store your rig there and leave it up there, because you're going to be heading out that way when you're done. If you're coming from the south, like Southern California, leave your rig at Loon Lake, because you're probably going to head back down to Sacramento and down 5 or whatever to get home.
I would agree. One thing I really absolutely love doing is on the way out that day, going up and out Cadillac to Tahoma, if you can get an early start, like you don't have to be super early, 8 to 9 a.m., you can get out with plenty of time to make it into Sonny's Barbecue.
Ooh, where is that?
That's in South Lake Tahoe.
Okay.
They have some amazing fucking mouth-watering barbecue.
Nice.
And that's my favorite thing to do. Get off of the trail after 2 to 3 days on the trail and just motor on out to South Lake Tahoe and have lunch at Sonny's Barbecue.
Nice. Yeah. I don't
It
go
is
that way that often, but
fantastic.
there really is some excellent cuisine and some good bars too. There's good bars. There's a few breweries out in South Lake Tahoe that are a lot of fun.
Yep.
South Lake's it's a fun area. So,
especially during summertime.
oh yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things happening up in that area.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people from the valley down in Sacramento area or wherever down in the Sacramento Valley head up to Tahoe because it's cooler. So it's a very nice area to go and visit and see. And the lake's gorgeous. The lake is absolutely stunning.
It is. Yeah. Take your time. Don't take too much time because people will get pissed at you. But going across that fin at Emerald Bay.
Yeah.
As you're up on the fin on the ridge there.
Absolutely. That's fun to look down at the tea house.
It's a really neat spot to just look down off either side of you at the scenery around you. So that's a lot of like logistics, how to get here, what to plan on. What about a couple of things that could be highlights for somebody going through the trail to kind of stop and either take a look at or stop and just notice as they're going through the trail?
Yeah. I mean, I would say let's just talk as if we're going up through from Loon Lake.
Okay.
I mean, I would stop and look at the beer tree, snap a photo at the beer tree.
Yep.
Which is down near the base of the granite bowl.
Yep.
I guess before that, I would take video of you going up Snail Hill.
Yeah. Send that to us. Tag us.
Absolutely. Then you can go to the beer tree.
I think one of the spots as you are coming out of Gatekeeper and just getting to the top of the bowl, there's that big open clearing where we had the picnic that one day.
Yeah.
Just stopping there and taking a second to take in the granite bowl.
Sure.
I think that is a fantastic thing to do.
I think it happens naturally to some extent because you pop out of the trees, you come down this little ledge, and then you look out and you're like, oh, it's this huge granite bowl. Like it's not normal looking.
No, it's not.
And what's fun is to look at across the way and see if there's any other rigs, and they look like micro machines.
Yep.
And once you cross the bowl, look back.
Samurais?
Look backwards of where you came.
Yeah.
And realize how far away that was.
Yeah. Another thing I really like doing is once I'm across the bowl, up on the top on the other side, before you get hit whale bones.
Okay.
There's kind of like the normal line around where there's the big rock and the wall you have to squeeze between.
Yes.
Before hitting the corner to go up whale bones. You can get up on this like little outcropping. It's
just the top of the mountain.
It's the top of the mountain there. And you can get up there, and if there's other rigs going through whale bones, just get up there and sit and watch the people for a while going up whale bones. It can be entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's a good spot. The bowl just has a lot to take in, a lot of visions of grandeur right there. So the bowl, let's see, after the bowl, we're coming up on...
Well, you're coming up to Ellis Creek.
Ellis Creek, yep. There's a great little spot to... I don't know. It's a nice spot to just stop and stretch your legs real quick.
There is
go
a bathroom.
To the bathroom.
There's a nice bathroom there for the most part.
If it's hot outside and you're dusty because you're in an open top vehicle, you can go down underneath the bridge at Ellis Creek and splash your face off in Ellis Creek right there. That's a really nice thing to do.
Yep. So after Ellis, it's Lower Walker.
Yeah, Walker Hill essentially.
Walker Hill.
Yeah. I don't know. There's nothing really to like, in my opinion, stop and take in at Walker. You just kind of keep going. There are some bathrooms at Lower and Middle and Upper Walker.
Yeah.
So if you need to, use a restroom, they are there for people to use and check out. Right at the top of Walker Hill is the cell phone tree.
Right.
And it's this great tree that just naturally emits cell phone signals
for every carrier.
It's magic. Nobody can figure out why. Nobody asks questions. They just put a sign on it with a cell phone and an antenna, and it's the cell phone tree.
Right.
No, but it literally, you can stand within 2 feet of the tree at the top of Walker, and you will get internet data on your cell phone, no matter what carrier you have.
And it's one of the only places that happens on the trail.
Yep.
But also at that specific location, if you look backwards kind of where you started, you can see Loon Lake kind of between through the trees.
That's cool. I've never
So if you look out towards where Loon Lake would be, you can see pretty much kind of where you started from, or at least the lake of where you started from.
Okay.
And you can see the far levee, which is kind of cool. So that's nice. So that's kind of fun to see from there. Mm-hmm. So let's see if you keep going.
Next after that would be Supple and the Z turn before Supple.
Yes. Okay.
So the Z turn, nothing special really. It's just a fun little obstacle that we've found nobody has really ever named that we can know of.
Right.
And we can't find anybody who knows what it's named, so we call it the Z turn, but it's like right before Supple. But Supple is kind of interesting to take a look at. If there's people going up it, it's kind of fun to sit there and watch them go up for a little bit and watch them attempt it, let them try it. There are more bathrooms at the far end of Supple. So you go past Supple and there's a bathroom there on the left. So that's another kind of bathroom stop place. If you want to stop and try Supple, go for it.
Yeah.
It's a fun time.
Definitely.
Yep.
So
if you have time, and this is a thing, I'm not sure how you would find it without the GPS coordinates. There's a big trench in the granite right near Supple, about a 10-minute hike from Supple.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain.
It is really hard to explain.
It's kind of like if you're parked at Supple, you need to walk into the forest away from Supple, sort of parallel to the road you drove in on.
Yeah, kind of.
And then it's out. And then you just kind of have to stumble upon it in a way.
Yeah.
And when you stumble upon it, you'll know you stumble upon it.
Yes, you will.
I mean, it's like 10 feet deep and all the granite rock is piled up on the side. And it's this culvert that they were sort of dynamiting and working to get water from Spider Lake to Loon Lake so that they could do hydroelectric works throughout the winter and stuff. So. But it never worked out. Things failed. The aqueduct system that they built every summer got destroyed during the winters. But that culvert that they were dynamiting in the ground is still there.
Yeah. So it's neat. If you guys want the GPS coordinates of that, reach out to me and we'll get it to you. But it's a fun little spot there, and it's not that far off the trail. It's a 10-minute hike. Half an hour round trip if you're taking to, get there, come back and look at it a little bit. But it's just a 10-foot deep, perfectly cut trench in blue granite that's 60 feet long, 70 feet long.
Yeah, it's nuts.
It's pretty crazy. And so from there, we start getting out to winter camp. And winter camp is just a little campsite. I don't even know how to describe it. It's a 3-rig campsite maybe.
Yeah, no, it's probably more than that.
You think you get more in there comfortably?
Winter camp is the one that's right on the corner before you do the straight to Little Sluice.
Yep.
There's a few. It's a pretty open area. You're not supposed to drive up there, so you have to camp. You have to park down sort of on the trail, and then you hike your stuff up 20 yards, if that. To these big open areas. And you could probably get a few families up there, 2-3 families up there comfortably.
Yeah.
There's also more campgrounds just a little further down, right before you get to Little Sluice. Now,
how do you know when you're at Little Sluice?
There's bathrooms and there's signs.
Yep.
And the rock.
Yeah.
There's a big rock down there that says the mileage and the obstacle in Rubicon. If it's your first time, Little Sluice is a lot of fun, but the bypass has some great views.
Yeah.
So it's really, I think you should do Little Sluice because it's the obstacle and it's a challenge and you're probably out there to wheel, but you get an amazing view and there are some fun little spots on the bypass as well.
Yep.
So it's really a toss-up of whatever. If you're out there for a scenic day, do the bypass. If you're out there to challenge yourself and wheel, do Little Sluice.
I would agree to that. I was really bummed the first time I did the trail, we didn't do Little Sluice, and I was really bummed about it. The second time I did the trail, I did Little Sluice, and I was really bummed about it. I like the bypass better.
Right.
The sluice box is... It's a challenge. There's one little spot there where it's just got some big rocks, and if you don't have ground clearance, you're not getting through.
Right.
And that's kind of all it. I don't want to say all it is, but you miss so much because you're just down in this granite trench, pretty much a little crevice with some boulders.
Yeah.
Whereas going on the bypass, there's some really cool stuff to see.
You get a good view out in, like, you're on sort of the side of the mountain, and you get to see sort of this little valley, this
Crystal Basin.
Yeah, Crystal Basin, exactly. So it's a great view. I think it also, I don't know where the legality falls on this, but I think you can park it down at Little Sluice, at the base of Little Sluice, and you can hike to, what would that be? The west side of Spider Lake is is the legal side to get to.
West side is the legal side of Spider Lake. East side is all private property.
Right.
Yeah.
But going to see, if you have the time, going to check out Spider is fun too.
It is. Yep. And that's a short hike. If you park at Little Sluice box, pretty much where the bathrooms are at Little Sluice, and just hike directly south, you'll run into Spider Lake and the west side of Spider Lake.
Correct.
So, and that's all national forest.
Right.
Whereas the east side is all private property. So, Spider Lake is a gorgeous little lake to look at. It is fun to go swimming in Spider Lake.
Yeah.
So check that out if you got time on the day. From there, we're getting down to essentially Indian Trail.
Right. But before you get to Indian Trail or the official start, there are a few good campgrounds or camping spots along the trail in that stretch as well. So even if if you decide that you get to, Loon Lake at noon after driving there and you want to drive in for a little ways, there's like we've mentioned quite a few camping spots along this route. Yeah. So you could drive in to, the Granite Bowl or Walker Hill or Little Sluice or just past Little Sluice. There's tons of camping along the trail.
Yep, I agree. As you're coming up on Indian Trail, you'll hit Arnold's Rock.
Correct.
Which isn't, it's not anything super spectacular. It's just a big ass rock in the middle of the trail that you have to make really tight turns to get around.
Yeah.
And so that's always fun to enjoy and watch people go around that little section right there. From there, you're getting up on top of Indian Trail. And
that's when the views start getting spectacular.
That's when the views are amazing. The best shitter I've ever been to is right up there.
Yes, it is. It's really good.
Apparently, Samurai James and Rhonda know of a better one up in the Sutter Buttes.
Oh.
Yeah. So they've shown me a picture from the view out the door of it. And I was like, okay, that one might beat the Indian Trail shitter.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So views up on top of Indian Trail is amazing. Take a second to hang out there. If you're just kind of moseying along for the day, a lot of people hit the top of Indian Trail right around lunchtime.
Okay.
If you got a little bit of a later start, 9, 10 a.m., and you've been kind of taking your time to get through, Indian Trail, the top of Indian Trail there with the bathroom is right about lunchtime.
Yeah. So I'd say that's a good spot.
Awesome spot to stop and have lunch at.
Absolutely. From here, you kind of have the option of going Old Sluice or down Indian Trail.
Yeah.
And depending on what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And now it's sort of the same as Little Sluice or the bypass, right? Old Sluice is tough, technical, probably the hardest section on that trail. You probably are going to get body damage.
Yep.
But you won't have the view.
Correct.
Doing Indian Trail, you get some great views. It's fairly decent, easy wheeling, for the most part, a little off camber here and there, some little ledges, rocky sections, but you get some great views out towards Buck Island Lake, and kind of from that spot, you can see Buck Island Lake.
Yeah.
So you know where you're headed. I don't think going from there to and then at the base, you have to do, if you plan on doing the RTF property, you pretty much need to do Indian Trail.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless if you do Old Sluice, you're going to come back up Indian Trail to get to the RTF property. So that's one thing to consider. Yep. But from there, from the RTF property to Buck Island Lake, I wouldn't say there's anything necessarily to stop at. Buck Island Lake's fun. It's if you're gonna camp there, there's so many camping spots. Go up to the levee or the dam, drive across it. That's where everybody goes swimming. That's the great spot to hit up and go swimming and relax. If you take lunch there, if you can make it there in time. Driving up, I think around the lake, there's still just a lot of great spots to look at the lake and Also good spots to camp all that stretch. And then pretty much you get to the top of Old Sluice.
Big Sluice.
Big Sluice. See, I always mess these up. You get to the top of Big Sluice, which has a nice little lookout from kind of the top there. You can't see the obstacle, but you can hear people in it. And one of the things, kind of starts going down and down and down and down and down until you get down to the very bottom. Right. And I usually turn my engine off at the top and listen to hear if somebody's coming up. Oh, that's smart. Because there's only really room for one rig in that area. Yeah, you can't really pass people very well. So if you hear somebody working their way up, then I usually wait. Yeah, just hang out. That's a good idea. The way we do it is we'll send one rig down. Yeah. And we'll keep the rest of the group up kind of at that clearing with the big ass tree in the middle. Okay. Up at the top. And we'll send one rig down to see if there's traffic. Tree too, right? There's a couple signs on it. It's the dam tree, something dam. Tree, yeah. And so we'll send one rig down to the bottom, and then they'll get all the way to the bottom, check if there's any traffic. If there is traffic, they'll let us know. If there's no traffic, they'll say, okay, I'll clear. And then they're in charge of stopping all the traffic from coming up until our group gets through. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. I think I would get down to the rocky section where the tree fell and then radio ahead and say, all right, start coming. Start coming. Yeah. There's a nice section there between where the tree fell and the boulder patch, I call it, where you can fit quite a few rigs. Yeah. 6. Yeah. 6 might be tight. Yeah. So from there, there's not you got the bridge. The bridge is a great photo op. Beautiful photo op. But there's nothing really that important. There's some good rocky, hard section of the trail between there and the bridge, but there's nothing really to stop and pay attention to. Yep. The bridge, photo op, then you're in the springs, Rubicon Springs, technically. The caretaker's house is something interesting. You need to stop there if you're going to spend the night, because that's where you pay. Yep. There's a lot of stuff to do in the springs. There is a lot of stuff to do in the springs. You can take a look around the main area of the springs. There's a lot of history there. There's the Rubicon Soda Springs, which is there. There's the helipad up on the rock, so you can go check out. There's a couple different camping areas there. You can go for a swim in the very, very slow moving river right there. Freezing cold river. It's great. Snow runoff river. Yep. You can take a look at, that's what you alluded to earlier, the hotel footings from the original hotel that was down there. There's a lot to do. There's an old stone cabin about 30 minute walk from the caretaker's cabin. Yeah. That you can go check out. And it's kind of like built into the side of a granite hillside. There's, let's see, if you go further on down, there's the granite slabs and the waterfall that you can go down and check out. There's a rope swing on the other side of the river from the granite slabs. Great little couple swimming holes there. Yeah. If you want to, in areas near there, you're allowed to go shooting. And you can talk to the caretaker at the cabin, and they will point you in the right direction and really tell you if it's a good season or not to do it. Because if you're wheeling, it's probably you're wheeling in the summer and everything dries up, and they probably are going to advise you not to go shooting. Yeah. But once you're not on private land, you can pretty much go shooting if you choose. Oh, that's cool. I never realized, I guess that would be the case, but I never thought to think about that. Yeah, I don't think many people are going out to wheel the Rubicon to go shooting, but you can, if you want to, while you're out there, you can. There's they'll point you in a good area to go. Yes, I'm going to go, or I went shooting last weekend. Yeah. That's funny. Just clean up after yourself. Pick up your shells. Your shells, your brass, or whatever you're going to be shooting, and and just do it responsibly. And they'll tell you that you can't do it on Rubicon Springs property, but they'll tell you where to go. Cool. From there, continuing on, there's an interesting little spot between Rubicon Springs and the beginning of Cadillac Hill. That's the pet cemetery. Oh, I don't know about this. Oh, it's a really neat little pet cemetery. It's just right on the side of the trail as you're getting ready to leaving the springs and heading up to Cadillac, which is only like a quarter of a mile, maybe half a mile. I know of this now. I didn't know that it was a pet cemetery. Yeah, it's a pet cemetery. So pretty much if you lose an animal, a pet, on the trail at some point, you're supposed to leave some kind of memorial in the pet cemetery for them. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a little pet cemetery as you're heading towards Cadillac. It's on passenger side of the trail, after all the camping area of Rubicon Springs.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you come up to Cadillac Hill, and that's where the fun begins. That's where in my opinion, the hardest part of Cadillac is at the bottom there.
Yeah, that turn.
Yeah.
The turn at the bottom of the hill, and then the lean towards the big rock.
Yep.
Those are the two hardest spots on Caddy.
Yep. And so once you get to the top of Caddy, I mean, Caddy is nothing really to, I don't want to say sit around and be of a point of interest that you want to sit there and just take in for a while. But once you get to the top of Cadillac Hill and get to observation point, that's a photo op. That's like the end of the hard parts of the trail. It's kind of the spot where you get to sit there with all your buddies and be like, look back over the whole Rubicon Trail canyon, the whole Crystal Basin area. And you could just kind of get to sit there and be like, yeah, we just did all that.
Yep.
So it's a really cool spot. Definitely stop and check out observation point at the top of Cadillac.
Absolutely. And we can't forget about the Cadillac.
I still have yet to see the Cadillac.
Me too. But I've heard, I think might put words in his mouth, but I'm pretty sure Jason Green said that he could get us to the Cadillac.
Okay.
It supposedly is still there.
Well, it's not even a Cadillac.
No, it's not.
It's something else.
Yeah, it's an Oldsmobile or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't remember what it was.
But yeah, it's supposedly that rig is still there.
Okay.
And I don't know how to get to it, but if you have the time and you want to try to find it, it's out there on the internet and you could locate it, I'm sure. Somebody will have a pin drop at that spot and you can hike to it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's better to hike to it from the bottom of Cadillac, midway on Cadillac, or the top of Cadillac. But you'll know when you get out there. But supposedly that car is still out there.
Yep.
Or parts of it.
Parts of it, yeah, whatever's left.
But then, from there on back to Tahoma, it's a cobblestone road for the most part.
Yep.
There's a fire road with some big rocks every once in a while.
Yeah, if you get it's a rough ride. That road back out to Tahoma, it's rough. You can't go fast, really.
No.
You just kind of have to take your time, and it beats you up. So there's a couple of lakes along the way called Miller Lake, Lily Lake, and what was the last one? McKinney Lake. You can stop at those.
Is that Dave's?
It is Dave's. He owns that one.
Cool.
No. So you can stop and take a look at those lakes, stretch your legs, give your back a rest if you need to, maybe get a snack, and then head on out to Tahoma. So those are kind of the three break points along that road if you're just getting beat up.
Yeah.
So,
It's probably 5 miles.
let's find out. I can figure that out. I've got Gaia up here. So from the trailhead there to observation point, 5.5 miles.
Okay. So I was close.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
But it's 5.5 miles, and every once in a while you can get maybe up to 20.
Maybe. And that's at like the end of the trail near the staging area.
It's pretty, it's rutted out. There's rocks. It's like driving a cobblestone road. It's not comfy.
There's a couple of little rock gardens as you're going through. But
so when you get to Cadillac, at the top of Cadillac, the observation point, don't air up.
No, that would be the worst spot to do it, I think.
Don't think you're done.
No.
I would stay aired down to drive that road.
I agree.
So
if anything, I would air down more to drive that road to go out.
Yeah, maybe.
Just take your rig down to 5 PSI and you'll have a great time going out. Well, not you. I think if you're running like a typical, I don't know, if a trailered rig is coming in, it's probably a little bit lighter weight. So you might want to go down to like 1 to 2 PSI.
Yeah,
take that road out.
Jeez.
Those would be kind of our highlights to hit along the trail. If you have ladies that are concerned about coming on the trail and how they're going to take care of going to the bathroom and everything, don't worry about it. They've done a really, really great job at putting bathrooms along the entire trail. And I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe they pump the bathrooms once a week.
Yeah.
During the summer, at least.
Yeah. And not during the weekends, though.
Yeah.
So that's another reason not to go during a weekend for the most part, is because that's when everybody goes. And yeah, it's best to try. I mean, we should find out what the pump schedule is and then just schedule our trips like the day after that.
I have Brian's number. I can text him.
Yeah. Is Brian doing it?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. Joey's not doing it anymore. It's Brian Betancourt who's doing it now.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I think that, I would highly suggest bringing wag bags just in case.
Yep.
Bring a spill kit.
Yep.
Prepare yourself for, we suggest a multi-day camping trip and multi-day trip, wheeling. Bring 1 gallon of water per day that you're going to be out per individual.
Yep. I agree. What about, here's a question that came up yesterday in one of the groups. And I was like, yeah, that's a good question. And it does come up fairly often, but not all the time. What about wildlife?
Yes.
So do you have to worry about bees? Do you have to worry about snakes? Do you have to worry about bears getting into things?
Yes. All the above.
All of the above.
Yeah. I mean, if you're allergic to bees, you're probably carrying something to, protect yourself from bees. There's bees, there's ants, there's wildlife, there are snakes. I don't think there's rattlers though. I think it's too high in elevation for rattlers.
There was a lot of reports of rattlers 2 years ago.
Okay, then I'm mistaken.
So let's talk a little bit about bees. What can you bring to help yourself with bees?
Honey.
Just slather yourself in it. Sugar water.
Yes. But then that attracts the bears.
Yeah.
Especially Winnie the Pooh.
If you are staying down near the lake at Rubicon Springs at Buck Island or Rubicon Springs, bring mosquito repellent. Mm-hmm. You will want to use it.
Absolutely.
There's not a ton of bees. There's a few. The big issue up there is meat bees.
Yes. And they bite.
They bite the crap out of you.
Yeah. So I'd just bring some repellents, bring some of those citronella candles or whatever. Or take your shot of what is it? Vinegar, some sort of vinegar is supposed to detract you if you're I forget, apple cider vinegar or something like that. I don't know. Some hippie told me that one time. So yeah, I mean anything. Yes. Yeah. There's bees. Okay. Yeah. There's rattlesnakes. I'm never too concerned about rattlers. Usually you hear them first. Just don't go tromping through bushes. Stay on paths, stay on the main path, and you probably won't have a problem with snakes.
The big issue with snakes is if you bring a dog with you.
Yes. Okay.
Because dogs will go running off into the bushes and they'll find the snakes for you.
Sure.
So if you bring a dog with you, I highly recommend it because of the next problem we're going to talk about. But just pay attention to where your dog is going so that they don't go find the snakes. Usually the snakes are not going to be in the high traffic areas, like Correct. You said. So if you're sticking to the high traffic areas, you're probably going to be fine. But if you have little kids that like to go wander and play hide and seek, or pets, then you might want to have that a little bit more as a priority.
Right.
So,
and then bears.
So this is the reason why you bring your dog.
Yeah.
They have found that camps that have dogs with them pretty much always get left alone from bears. But bears are definitely up there. They will get into any food you leave out.
Yep.
No matter where it is.
Absolutely.
So they will break into your rig. They will tear your rig up to get to the food, the granola bar you left on one of the seats. So as long as you're good about storing your food away, or hanging it up in a tree, don't take food into your tent with you at night. You'll be just fine.
Yeah.
So,
and how do you deter so let's just go here. So if a bear does come into your campground, the bears that we have are like black bears.
Black bears. Yeah.
Sometimes they're black bears that look brown.
Yeah.
But they're black bears. And they're typically, even though they're somewhat used to campers now on the Rubicon, but they're typically scared away very easily. Make some loud noises, bring an air horn, people shoot guns into the air, bang pots and pans, clap and yell. The bear will run away. Yeah. It'll probably come back. Yeah. But it'll run away.
It'll run away for now. It's going to be really interesting, I think, this year, seeing how wildlife is, because a lot of the forest south of the Rubicon is gone.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So it's going to be interesting to see if wildlife heads up into the good forest in the Rubicon, or what, how it works out this year. I'm not sure.
Yeah. We were camped at Buck a few years ago, and we literally heard the bear hit the campground at the top of the hill because they like let off an air horn. Then we heard the people 2 camps up from us making a bunch of noise. Then we heard the people next to us making a whole bunch of noise. Then the bear came into our campground. We made a bunch of noise. Then it went down to the camps, just like walking through the campground, seeing what it can find, you know, and then we heard it coming, like the noise coming back towards us, you know, and one of the people in our group, like we stashed away all the stuff. We hung a bunch of stuff in a tree. Another thing to consider is any perfumes. Not that I know why you carry perfume. Deodorants and toothpastes all have a scent to them. So stash those away with the food as well. Put them in lock boxes. Put them in some sort of your coolers that are bear protected. Bring bear boxes, bear like containers, or hang them. Somebody in our group left Swedish fish in his backpack in his rig, and the bear ripped his bag, ripped some of his clothes, grabbed the bag of Swedish fish, knew like right where it was at.
Wow.
And ran away with it. We like got out of the tent and we shined a light, and the bear's like literally sitting in the driver's seat like it was going to drive the vehicle.
That's funny.
We yell and it like hops out. Didn't damage the seats or damage the rig at all. We also, the next day, we shoved a cooler underneath my truck between the ground, the granite rock, and my gas tank.
Okay.
Like literally kicking this thing in as hard as we can to like pinch it. The bears came by the next day, and we expected them at this point. And there was a bear with one arm wrapped around my the top side of my drive shaft, and his other arm was wrapped on the bottom side of my drive shaft, and it was clawing. It was Hussman's cooler, clawing at the cooler, trying to pull it through my drive shaft. It didn't work. The drive shaft defeated the bear. But yeah, Hussman had this really interesting cooler where it had puncture marks from the claws and scratches. It was like an old Coleman cooler, and then he upgraded to the Yeti.
Nice.
But yeah, so the bears are there. They're definitely there. They're not there for you.
No.
They're there to try and get your food.
They're trying to get the easy food. Yep.
And if you don't have easy food and you scare them away pretty easily, they'll move on to the next campground and try to find easy food there.
Yep, exactly.
We had dogs at our camp, though.
Oh, you did? And it still came in.
Yep. We had a bunch of dogs. We had a few, 2 or 3 dogs. I think 2 in one camp or tent and 1 in another. The dogs were silent.
Really? Yeah, they didn't catch it at all.
There was like mice or rabbits or whatever running around. They bark. The bears started coming in.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Interesting.
Like, I ain't messing with that thing. That thing's big. And you can definitely hear a bear. Like they're breathing. Yeah, you like when they're near your tent or whatever, you just hear them go.
Yeah.
And they have this very, like, you can tell.
It's very distinct.
Big. That's a big nose.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know it's a bear.
Nice.
And most of the times, flashing lights, banging pots and pans. They'll run away.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Anything else that we can think of for tips for coming and playing around on the Rubicon this summer from out of state?
No, you know, I think the one thing I just want to stress is don't rush it.
Absolutely. 100%.
You know, if you're coming, you know, across multiple states to come to the Rubicon, to drive the Rubicon, I would highly advise you to make it at least 3 days on the Rubicon. If not, make it more.
Yeah.
Don't do it in one night. Don't try to do it in a day, because it's not going to be enjoyable. You're not going to enjoy the Rubicon.
No, I would 100% agree to that. I would also go as far to, if you can find the time to make it like a 4-day trip and just spend 1 day in one spot hiking and going and seeing stuff, like a play day, you can't beat it out there. There's so many things to see out on that trail.
Yeah, I'd spend a day at Big Sluice or at Buck Island Lake and walk around the lake and go see the waterfall on the far side. Or I'd spend a full day at Rubicon Springs, and there's so much to do around there to go and explore as well. So yeah, I would. The longer you can spend on the trail, unfortunately, that's not always an easy case, but the longer you can spend on that trail, the more enjoyable time you will have on the trail.
I 100% agree to that. So cool, man. That's all I got. I don't have any other tips, ideas. I'm sure there's a umpteen number of permutations to run that trail logistic wise. So, I think the big thing comes down to how much time do you have on the trail? What are your priorities? And trying to make and build a trip that works for what you're looking to do.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
I think a lot of it comes down to time.
Yeah.
I mean, like I was sort of saying, like if you want to wheel hard the first day and have a complete relaxing day, then that's fine. If you want to break your wheeling up and have shorter wheeling times with a little bit, more stress in moving camps, then that works as well.
Yeah.
And there's so many places to camp. There's so many different ways or places to park trucks and trailers. It's, a lot. I see that question come up often, like, where can I park my truck and trailer? And I don't have an answer, but there's tons of them out there.
There's lots of different places. The main big areas that are common are the Tahoma staging parking lot. There's the Loon Lake spillway. You can probably fit 50 trailers down there, 60 maybe. And then a few years back, they opened up the big overflow trailer parking area up near the Loon Lake Chalet, which is a mile and a half before the spillway as you're heading up there.
Maybe.
Yeah. It's on the left-hand side of the road as you're heading towards Loon Lake. And you just kind of pull in, and that parking area can probably fit 200, 300 trailers, maybe.
A lot. I park there every time because I don't have 4-wheel drive in my tow rig. If I tow up there, I don't have 4-wheel drive, so I can't drive out of the Loon Lake spillway.
Gotcha.
So I park at the chalet with Clifford.
Nice. So there's lots of space. Just depends on where you want to park. Ice House Resort was a great spot to park tow rigs as well. They will watch over it for you. That's probably the safest place, in my opinion, to park your tow rig.
They charge, but they do watch over it. So,
yep.
I would, if you do park at the Tahoma spot, I mean, it's safe, but it's not the safest.
Yeah.
There has been known break-ins, but there's a lot of people that do know that, it's all other wheelers out there, and we're not going to screw with our friends and our brothers that are out on the trail.
Essentially, as long as you don't leave any items out in view, you'll be fine parking out in Tahoma. Yeah. It's the people who leave
backpacks, purses,
or
laptops,
out in view in their
Jeep
vehicle.
doors.
Yeah. So cool, man. I think it's a good episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
A fun one. I hope it'll help some people out as you're planning your trips in the near or distant future. Come on out, enjoy the trail. California has a lot to offer in terms of recreation and outdoor recreation, vehicular recreation, and the Rubicon Trail is one of the absolute gems of the state in terms of recreation, what you can do. So come out, check it out. Plan a trip and have some fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think if you want to get a hold of us and ask us more questions, definitely feel free to reach out. You can find us, you can email us, Jimmy or Tyler, snailtrail4x4.com. You can find me on Instagram, snailtrail4x4. You can find Tyler at 4x4 Toyota Tyler. If you want to leave us a voicemail with a question that we can follow up and answer at another time, you can do that too. 916-345-4744.
Sounds good. I agree with everything. Jimmy, do you have any final words for everybody?
Skinny dipping.
With that, my friends, keep crawling.
I got one for you.
You have a joke. Hooray.
I do.
Yay.
So a man walks up to the librarian and says to her, "Where are the books on paranoia?"
On paranoia? Wouldn't you like to know?
They're right behind you.
That one's good.